Sports time now. Mark Seal joins us live in the sports studio. Mark, what do you have for us?
Well, good evening. I can tell you that just one day after the 2020 Indian Premier League was postponed for a second time due to the COVID-19 pandemic, offers have started to come in for hosting the tournament outside of India. One stakeholder, Simon Katic, the head coach of the Royal Challengers Bangalore, isn't adverse at all to the possibility of it being held in Australia or South Africa, while Sri Lanka has also reached out to the Board of Control for Cricket in India with a solution. Katic has noted that there has been talk of IPL ratings of 80 million people watching games. But at the same time, there's obviously a lot of health regulations that need to be followed to make sure that no one's endangered, whether the public, the players, or support staff. An option close to home could emerge, however, if Sri Lanka is able to avoid the worst of the pandemic. At present, Sri Lanka's lockdown is even more severe than that in most parts of India, with a curfew ongoing in the island for almost 4 weeks now. The Sri Lanka government has been optimistic about eliminating the virus from the island, and it is likely that if this goal is achieved, Sri Lanka will become a viable option as an IPL venue. Sri Lanka cricket president Shamee Silva has been quoted as saying that it will cost the BCCI and its stakeholders more than $500 million to cancel the IPL. So perhaps they can minimize those losses by hosting the tournament in another country. The other high-profile event increasingly under the scanner is the T20 World Cup, scheduled to begin mid-October in Australia. Katic suggested that it could be pushed back toward the end of the Australian summer if the crisis made it impossible to hold the tournament within the planned window. Katic also admitted that it may be sensible for the inaugural season of the 100, that's the ECB's new 100-ball competition, to be delayed until next year. He is due to coach the Manchester Originals in that tournament from July, but doubts have been cast over whether it will be possible to stage sporting fixtures that soon, with the UK's confirmed death toll recently passing 12,000. Meanwhile, veteran cricket commentator Fazir Mohammed says that West Indies players due to take part in this year's IPL campaign should be looking at the wider picture, despite being affected financially. With the start of the 2020 season suspended for the moment and the T20 World Cup potentially in doubt as well, Mohammed stressed that there are much greater global concerns, which all of the sporting world should understand.
Given the scope of the COVID-19 pandemic, it would have been very surprising if the elite T20 cricketers from the West Indies would not have factored into their considerations for the rest of the year, that the entire IPL season would have been lost, or at best a severely truncated one would have taken place at some point later in the year. Yes, it's going to be a major hit to their revenues for the year, but they've got to look at the wider picture and recognize that there are bigger issues here at play. People are losing their lives, people are losing their livelihoods, and there are therefore far greater priorities to be dealt with at the moment. And yes, they'll be looking hopefully towards some sort of arrangement later on in the year that may allow for either the IPL or some other form of T20 cricket to be played. Even the World T20 might be in jeopardy. But just at this time, the world has to have a cause for a pause for a far more important consideration, and this COVID-19 involving not just West Indies premier cricketers, but all top sportsmen and women worldwide. They now have to reorganize and rethink their considerations and their budgeting and their revenues for the rest of 2020.
Yesterday, it was announced that the IPL was postponed for a second time, and there was no new window yet for the tournament, which was to be held between March 29th and May 24th originally. It was also determined that players will not be paid any portion of their contract unless the tournament is played. The decision was generally about the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, but specifically as a result of the nationwide lockdown till May 3rd by the Indian government. Among the Windies cricketers affected by the delay are Kieran Pollard, Chris Gayle, Nicholas Pooran, Shimron Hetmeyer, Andre Russell, Kimo Paul, Dwayne Bravo, Fabian Allen, Sheldon Cottrell, O'Shane Thomas, and Sunil Narain. November 2020 is the proposed new date for the Pan American Beach Wrestling Championships in Barbados. It's the last option on the table before a decision is taken to postpone the event till next year, with the impact of COVID-19 disrupting the sporting calendar globally. President of the Barbados Wrestling Association, Rollins Allen, says the three-day competition, scheduled to be held from May 29th to the 31st at Browns Beach in St. Michael, had been receiving interest from athletes across the globe. Additionally, though, the annual Bridgetown Burning, which is an all-combat sports event, was cancelled.
We have a number of teams coming from Scotland, U.S., Canada, Martinique, St. Lucia, Trinidad. A very good, so that was heavily impacted. Then the Pan American Beach Wrestling Championships actually was scheduled for May the 29th to the 31st. That's postponed. The world body has, because of the world situation, has told all the federations to put back the event. So, yep, we're a little disappointed, but however, for the health and safety of the athletes in the country,
Approximately $300,000 was required to host the first major wrestling event in the Caribbean, but its contribution to sports tourism would have been huge, with over 150 athletes in attendance. Now, despite the setback, Allen said the association remains hopeful of growing the sport on the island in the months ahead.
We want to implement our start of our 5G program for young athletes, and now that the next cycle of the Olympics begins, so we want to have a cadre of young people between the ages of under 15 to under 20 and put in a program. So we actually our team is working with details put together with then apply to the world body for support for this program. Because if you don't do it, then there's you're at the mercies of other bodies for support. So we decide take initiative to help develop the youth. There's a growing trend among combat sports. There's declining numbers. So we gotta find ways now, initiatives, get young people into activities, right? Because of the technology and stuff.
We say welcome back now to Mark Seal with the second half in sports. Mark.
Yep, the Barbados Hockey Federation is still holding out hope that they can host the annual hockey festival this year if the all-clear is given with respect to COVID-19. The 35th edition was set for August 16th to 27th, with the usual featured categories in the men's, women's, mixed and masters over 35 sections. Barbados had mixed results in the 2019 edition, with a bad connection winning the men's section, while Big Apple 8C from the United States defeated UWI Blackbirds in the women's final. Century Insurance Brokers Rockets of Barbados won the mixed team title, while Trinidad and Tobago Police Service won the Masters. Barbados Hockey Federation President Mark St. Hill spoke to sports journalist Andy Thornhill on the matter.
We have not made a final decision. There are a number of moving parts. So firstly, the hockey festival will actually come under what we call an international sporting event, and therefore a number of constituents we have to get approval from through the BOA. I believe the ministries, there are about three different government agencies that we will have to get approval from. The festival is at the end of August, so in essence we have to take the cue from government as to when large gatherings and events such as these can take place. We have 4 international teams and different players that have already booked to come at the end of August, and they're asking us what is our position, and we're basically saying, okay, let's play this out to the end of June, and then we'll take the cue from government.
Yet another sport in Barbados is crediting advancements in technology with keeping it functioning in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Taekwondo Association of Barbados has managed to use the popular Zoom communication platform so that instructors can conduct classes with members of the various clubs. Speaking to CBC Sports, President of the association, Henderson Turton, says the current 24-hour curfew in effect, athletes have actually been able to practice more often.
We have made sure that we found ways that our players can continue to practice, continue to do their training. This has actually been done since early March, where classes have been held online by at least 3 of the clubs, where the instructor would go on to Zoom and the club members would join, and we're able to carry out classes, be able to see what the students are doing, give them the proper instruction. So Taekwondo training is actually continuing. Obviously, we've canceled at the association level all the national events for the time being, and we will follow government's guidance on resumption. However, we actually have plans afoot to host a seminar online where our members of the association can log in and participate from home.